I always give all his credit, no, but we need to run it back. That's why my tough. When after the fight, I say we need to run it back this fight because I don't feel the way I really want, and I need to make this fight happen again, no, and it's gonna be different. I think for him to deserve all the credit, he need to give me the rematch, obviously. But he decided to retire, and we need to accept that and move forward.
You know what? Sometimes you try and your body cannot go, right? That's my frustration. Maybe I can figure out Crawford, but my body cannot go anymore. So I try it, but my body just let me go.
I have a burning question for you that I think everyone wants to know. Is there going to be a Canelo rematch? Is there a rematch clause? That's something you're thinking about?
I'm not even thinking about that right now. And quite frankly, I don't think it is a rematch clause. And if it is, nothing has been said to me about fighting him again or anything.
Do you think Canelo would want to get back in the ring with you? Or do you think it's better for him to just or more lucrative to go fight elsewhere for the rest of his career?
I think it would be better for him to fight somebody else, because my style is just, a bad matchup for him. Now,
Terence Crawford, coming off a monumental performance, is leaving no room for doubt about his position. He has been clear and outspoken about Canelo Alvarez's sudden rematch demands, and he is entertaining none of the excuses. He has already shown he owns the blueprint, along with the mental edge, to completely dismantle the Mexican superstar in a true dogfight, not merely survive him. This is not just about protecting a legacy, it is about demanding respect. And Crawford is ready to silence the excuses once and for all.
Did you watch the Terence Crawford Canelo Alvarez fight?
Yeah, I did.
Woo, talk about slick. Oh my goodness. Who's ever done that? Who's ever jumped up 2 weight classes like that? It's crazy.
Scary.
He's so clever, and it got to the point where he got so comfortable, he's like pit-patting him, and then like, what? And you're watching, like, this is amazing.
Like, that's history, obviously. You shouldn't be able to do that. You shouldn't be able to fight at that weight for the first time ever.
Against one of the greatest
greatest of all time, and do what you did. You're beyond an outlier. You're an anomaly.
Terence Crawford accomplished the unthinkable, jumping up multiple weight classes to face a naturally much larger opponent in Saul Canelo Alvarez. Rather than running or merely surviving, Crawford delivered an absolute masterclass. He stood directly in front of the Mexican superstar, using brilliant angles, razor-sharp counters, and defensive wizardry that left the super middleweight king visibly hurt and completely frustrated. The most important detail, however, was Canelo's immediate response. At the post-fight press conference, a defeated Canelo offered no excuses. He humbly accepted the loss, admitted he could not solve the puzzle, and even went on record saying Crawford was far better than Floyd Mayweather. It was a moment of pure, undeniable respect.
And lastly for me, champ, in the world of comparisons that we live in right now, if you can, compare and contrast the fight between yourself and Floyd Mayweather Jr. and tonight's bout with Terence "Bud" Crawford, if you can.
No, I think Crawford is way better than Floyd Mayweather.
Fast forward a few months and that humble acceptance has completely vanished into thin air. Canelo recently broke his silence on the loss, and the narrative has shifted so drastically that fans are struggling to take it seriously. Suddenly, the explanation is that his body mysteriously failed him on fight night. He now claims severe leg cramps stopped him from executing his game plan, along with newly revealed elbow issues that supposedly required post-fight surgery, plus a sudden lack of mental focus. The combat sports community is notoriously unforgiving when it comes to backpedaling, and social media has been absolutely ruthless. Boxing Twitter is already having a field day, heavily comparing these late-game claims to Deontay Wilder's infamous heavy costume excuse. The switch-up is jarring, especially from a fighter who once prided himself on making no excuses. The situation grows even stranger when you look at Canelo's new, bizarre demands. He isn't just explaining away the loss, he is outright insisting that Crawford owes him a rematch. On a recent podcast, Canelo boldly claimed that for Bud to receive full credit for the win, they need to run it back this September. But here is the brutal reality on the business side of that fight. There was absolutely no rematch clause in the original contract. Crawford intentionally chose not to include a rematch clause, or even a rehydration limit, because he wanted Canelo at his absolute best, with no asterisks attached to the victory. Now, with Crawford officially retiring in December 2025, Canelo is scrambling for negotiation leverage that simply does not exist.
He was given a lot of credit. There's no rehydration clause, blah, blah. Oh my God, Bud's such a fighter. I'm up here making the argument, see, no excuses. He doesn't need a Mayweather rehydration clause. But really, why did he do all that? Because if you want the shot, you got to do it according to Canelo's terms.
Yes.
He still beat Canelo comprehensively and decisively. In the rematch, Crawford would be within his rights to say, okay, wait a minute. Now there's going to be a rehydration clause. Now there are going to be some things that favor me. And once that happens, it's just going to get worse for Canelo.
I wouldn't like that with Crawford's legacy. I don't think I know, but his character.
If you were Canelo, if you were Crawford, like, I understand what you mean. I already proved my point the first time. All right, you want the rematch? Okay, but now it's going to be on my conditions.
Maybe different money terms. Say you want parity and money, which obviously never has been with Canelo, stuff like that.
See, that's my thing. You begging for this fight, and you go on these shows.
I don't think he's begging for it either.
He's not begging.
I've never.
You know what? Shady loves to say that. Oh, why did coverage or why do you get into it with fighters? You know why? Because I interact with the fighters. Let's get Canelo here, and then you say this to Canelo.
You think I'm gonna get this thing? I don't care about none of that.
Listen, man.
You would think an unprecedented pile of cash would be enough to pull any retired fighter back into the ring, but Terence Crawford continues to prove he is built entirely differently. Behind the scenes, rumors have erupted that His Excellency Turki Al-Alshik offered a staggering, rumored $100 million to lure Bud out of retirement for a second showdown. For 99% of athletes on Earth, that kind of Saudi payday is an automatic yes. Crawford's response, however, stunned the entire industry. He flatly said no, making it crystal clear he cannot be bought. He explained that his morals and personal integrity matter far more than adding another zero to his bank account, reinforcing that he is one of the rare superstars not driven solely by the dollar sign.
Don't got $100 million for me, don't even talk to me about it. And that's what I'm talking about. That's what I like to hear. Basically, let me translate, because we know Crawford don't like to do too much trash talking. He likes to keep it clean. What Crawford is saying to Canelo, the price on your head is $100 million because he already collected it last time. So is not gonna go with the rematch. Talk is cheap. With Crawford being the A side, with Crawford getting the lion's share, with Crawford getting fair judges, mainly, Canelo is gonna say, hell nah, to the no, to the no rematch. I'm telling you, he gonna start speaking English again. We haven't heard Canelo speak English for a minute now, I think. As soon as they show Canelo Alvarez the realistic terms on the contract for the rematch, he's gonna wake up to reality.
The real reason Crawford is walking away from a massive fortune is far darker and far less discussed in the glamorous world of prize fighting. When addressing a potential rematch, Bud revealed that the actual 36 minutes inside the ring with Canelo are not the issue. The true nightmare is the physical destruction his body must endure during a high-level, grueling training camp. Breaking his body down for months at a time, pushing past physical limits just to prepare for a much larger opponent, places a permanent tax on his health. Crawford is focused on the bigger picture, choosing long-term well-being and a pain-free life with his family over a quick cash grab that could leave lasting damage long after the cheers fade.
Because boxing is not all about knocking somebody out. Yes, that's part of it. That can happen, but boxing is a sport where you can outpoint somebody too. That's why they go to the scorecard.
I appreciate that take, bro. That's real educated, man, real thoughtful. But you ain't had a decision win in a long time, bro. You known for like being a great finisher. So I appreciate that. But that ain't how you moving though.
Right.
Please explain that to me. You just saying overall.
Yeah, overall.
You say, hey, I like to do this, but this is not for everybody.
It's definitely not, because it's a price to pay. It's definitely a price to pay when you fight those type of fights.
Yeah.
When everybody thinks nothing going on.
Yeah.
But all them punches add up.
Yeah, buddy.
All them punches add up.
He ain't got a bruise or nothing.
Yeah.
He didn't take no punishments. Like, bro, my head hurt.
Your head hurt.
I'm in this room right now trying to get right, and y'all chilling, partying downstairs.
Yeah, like all them punches add up. Punches in sparring add up. All them punches add up, and when one is good one day, and then it just all hit him out of the blue. He ain't even boxing no more. It just hit him, and then people be like, "Man, you all right, man?
Yeah,
What's wrong with you?"
You never know when that's gonna happen.
You never know. It's gonna come.
Yeah.
But
Stay
you never
around
know.
long enough. Yeah.
And it's just like, dang. You know what I mean? Is you all right? Yeah, I'm good. You might start slurring a little bit. You might start forgetting a lot of things. You might get a little dementia. You might keep repeating the same thing over and over, you know, and you don't even know it, you know? But that's from all that accumulation of punches to the brain.
But I know you probably have too, I done been in the presence of fighters, bro, where that stuff is happening, and I'm like, where they say something to you and they just told you 2-3 minutes earlier, you like, brother, you just said that.
Definitely.
That's scary to me.
Definitely.
That's scary to me.
I look at all that.
Instead of being dragged into a messy media war, Crawford has deployed the ultimate public relations strategy, weaponized silence. While Canelo jumps from podcast to podcast, airing out a growing list of grievances, Crawford has chosen not to entertain a single word of it. This epic, deafening quiet is driving critics absolutely crazy because it gives them nothing to latch onto. After his historic victory, Crawford famously asked the crowd, "What more can they say now?" That quote has aged perfectly. By refusing to take the bait, Bud effortlessly maintains the high ground, allowing his masterful, unanimous decision win to speak for itself, while Canelo is left shadowboxing his own insecurities.
I have a burning question for you that I think everyone wants to know. Is there going to be a Canelo rematch? Is there a rematch clause? That's something you're thinking about?
I'm not even thinking about that right now. And quite frankly, I don't think it is a rematch clause. And if it is, nothing has been said to me about fighting him again or anything.
Do you think Canelo would want to get back in the ring with you, or do you think it's better for him to just or more lucrative to go fight elsewhere for the rest of his career?
I don't know. I think it would be better for him to fight somebody else, because my style is just, you know, a bad matchup for him. Now, financially wise, I would be like, yeah, he should fight me, but like on the outside looking in, knowing boxing, you can really get hurt. So I would just tell him, like, if you're gonna continue to fight, don't get in the ring with a guy like me.
Yeah, there's a popular adage in sports, kind of gets reused over again. It's kind of cliche, Father Time is undefeated. 38 years old, we see a lot of athletes now go into the late 30s and 40s and produce at a high level. How much longer do you want to do this?
I don't know.
No clue yet? Did beating Canelo make you think about those next steps in any way, or?
Before Canelo, I was thinking about it a lot, you know, and I'm still thinking about it a lot. I just haven't made my final decision. But once I make it, I'm going to make it, you know, and I'm going to make it here soon.
Beneath the surface of this drama, a very real fear is brewing among hardcore boxing fans, one that fully explains Crawford's refusal to return. Across forums like Reddit, fans are highlighting the sport's dangerous, behind-the-scenes politics. Canelo is still widely viewed as the ultimate cash cow, and he is now in the process of launching his own promotional banner. Many believe that if Crawford agreed to come back, the boxing establishment would do everything possible to make sure the Golden Goose gets his revenge. Fans are genuinely worried that no matter how well Crawford performs in a rematch, he could easily fall victim to a rigged outcome, getting robbed on the judges' scorecards to protect Canelo's marketability. There is simply no reason for Crawford to walk blindly into a potential trap.
I would love to see the rematch. I think in the rematch, if he comes back with the hunger that he needs, he could beat Crawford. Because Crawford, you know, is very talented, but I think Canelo could beat him. Canelo's strong, man. Canelo's strong. Canelo could take a good punch. So I think he could just go and don't respect his punch and throw punches even though you're gonna get hit. But don't give up. Keep going until you hit him. I think rematch with Canelo would be the best thing for him to do.
But what if Terence Crawford does come out of retirement to face Canelo in a rematch in 2026? It would undoubtedly be one of the biggest fights in boxing. However, experts are already sounding the alarm, warning that it could end in disaster for Canelo. The first bout was not competitive, with Crawford clearly dominating the rounds. Wade Plemons summed up the potential rematch perfectly, explaining that it would not end well for Saul.
Terence Crawford, Canelo Alvarez are apparently in talks for a rematch in 2026, and my only question is why? Why? Outside of a massive... The first fight wasn't necessarily a competitive fight, and if they do it again, I think it's going to be less competitive. It's going to go very well for one, Saul. Canelo Alvarez.
Wade explained that the only path for Canelo to defeat Bud Crawford is by bringing his absolute best to the ring. He referenced one of Canelo's previous bouts, which also happens to be among his finest performances. Wade emphasized that the Mexican star must correct every mistake from that fight and enter the rematch against Bud firing on all cylinders.
I don't know how this goes well for Canelo in a rematch. Honestly, you look at the first fight, and the things that plagued Canelo were essentially the things that plague him against most boxers. His feet, his lack of movement, his lack of volume. He couldn't get to Terence. He was overextending. He was getting counter shots as he overextended. The big shown around, memed, and replayed moment of the fight is Canelo trying to throw a hook and Terence Crawford slipping on the outside and banging the left-hand counter behind him. To the punch from distance, he was beaten in exchanges, and even in points in the fight, he was beaten inside by Terence Crawford. This was I wouldn't say dominant, but I would say more one-sided than I thought win for Terence Crawford, where he flat out outboxed Canelo, and he took Canelo's power. Like, there were times where Canelo landed the big right hand, and Terence Crawford took it. So what would be different if they fought again? The only different thing that potentially could happen would be in Canelo's hands. He would have to find ways to be different, and as much as I would love to believe that's possible, Canelo getting up there in age, I understand Terence Crawford is older, but Terence Crawford already fights at a way that's advantageous versus Canelo. He doesn't really have to change much, and he's fighting up a couple of weight classes from where he normally did, so he doesn't have to really worry about a weight cut either, and he's filled into that weight class because he looked just as big, if not bigger, that Canelo Alvarez did on fight night. So the question is,
Wade explained that the only path for Canelo to defeat Bud Crawford is by bringing his absolute best to the ring. He referenced one of Canelo's previous bouts, which also happens to be among his finest performances. Wade emphasized that the Mexican star must correct every mistake from that fight and enter the rematch against Bud firing on all cylinders.
realistically think Canelo could and should and would do differently for this fight is he would have to fight Terence Crawford like he fought Sergey at 175. That's genuinely what he would have to do. He'd have to be lighter on his feet, throw more combinations, and he'd have to be quicker with his hands, as he was in that fight. And I'm not saying that he changes everything about himself. Canelo had success in moments with Bud Crawford. What he would have to do, and some, right? He would have to be able to add layers to his game, so flat-footed. And if he's going to combination punch, he's got to do so in the fire with Terence Crawford, which going into the first fight, I didn't think Terence Crawford was going to have as much success with his combination punching because he'd have to be in front of the powerful hands of Canelo. But again, he was able to do so off the back foot and front because Canelo threw one at a time. He threw the jab right hand, or he threw the hook right hand. And again, Terence Crawford remained mostly southpaw, which does give Canelo problems because now he has to lead with his backhand versus punctuate with it. And his jab gets neutralized, and it's just a mess of a fight for Canelo. It really is. I don't hate that he wants to get that back. And the matchup itself is, again, one of the only ones that Canelo can still have. Make a shit ton of money and potentially not completely kill his star.
Even so, Wade believes Canelo has no real chance of defeating Crawford in a rematch. Sharing his prediction, he didn't hesitate, stating that Terence Crawford would clearly be the superior fighter in the ring. He noted that Crawford's style is ill-suited for Canelo and suggested that he should simply move on from the defeat.
The first time he saw him, and maybe you could say, listen, Canelo just needed to see him one time to figure out that puzzle, right? He figured out, was able to re-implement it in the rematch, and then the third fight, it was not even Canelo just did what he wanted. But this is not the case, I don't think, with Crawford. I think Crawford just has a style that is really, really tough for Canelo, and I'll be honest, if they fought again, it would be more dominant for Terence Crawford. I truly think if in 2026 they book this rematch, I think Crawford dominates him even worse. And I'm not saying he stops Canelo because I don't know if that's something that Terence could get at 168 because Canelo's chin has still really never been tested like that. Like, he didn't really get hurt in the Crawford fight. He just got outboxed. But maybe he potentially would be able to stop him. But I just think it would be more one-sided than we saw in the first fight and would just reestablish that Terence Crawford is that fucking guy in this sport right now. The top guy, the head honcho in this sport, which is, I don't know. I mean, is it dangerous to Canelo's legacy to lose to the best of this era and the best of the era previously? I don't know. Like, did Canelo ever have an era where he was the best in the world? Maybe that's the question he's still trying to answer himself, and why he would want this rematch with Crawford. But when I see this news coming out of him wanting the rematch, having the elbow surgery, maybe in his mind going, okay, my elbow wasn't fresh, I wasn't able to turn my shots over, so that's why I can win this rematch. I like the competitive nature of it. I don't like the fight for him. I think the matchup's all wrong for Canelo. I think this style of fight, in terms of what Terence Crawford does well, is counter-punching off the front and back, his ability to go from range with his jab, be inside with it too, protect himself. He's got just a different timing than Canelo really has on his punches, and then you pair it with the volume that Terence Crawford can throw, and his feet, and his angles. This is the bad match.
Ultimately, Terence Crawford has executed the perfect checkmate. He climbed the mountain, defeated the giant, secured his generational wealth, and rode off into the sunset with his undisputed legacy fully intact. He is living proof that sometimes the strongest move is simply walking away, leaving your rival to battle their own demons. Do you think Canelo is tarnishing his incredible legacy by making these late excuses, or do you believe Crawford actually owes the boxing world one final, massive rematch? Share your thoughts in the comments. That's all for today's video. If you enjoyed it, remember to leave a like, subscribe, and ring the bell so you never miss upcoming videos.